Hello folks. Today we are going to put an inner tube in a otherwise tubeless lawn tractor tire. This is going to be done with the wheel on the axle on the machine. Most of the time they rust weld themselves together, and if you had a puller you might get them off, but they're pretty tight on there. So this is an alternative, but certainly not the only way to do it, and I'm not even certain it's the easiest way, but it works for me. We've obtained the correct size tube for the tire, and it comes looking something like that, and we're going to install it inside with that on the machine. For tools, oddly enough, I use paintbrushes because their handles are nicely rounded and they're easy to get a hold of. And we're going to be stuffing this tube inside that tire. I've also got pliers available should I need them, a razor knife, and a small valve core tool that removes the cores. It'll attach to the stem, it'll chase threads, clean them up. It's useful as well. So I've already broken the bead on this tire. It's not tough. Just bump them, let the air out, bump them with a hammer. Alright, on our valve stem, on the valve stem there is a back little nub on it. That nub has to be cut off. We're going to use the razor knife for that. We're not going to cut it completely off, about 95%, and then we'll pull it loose. So let me get set up here, and we're going to proceed with this, and I'll show as best I can. But I work solo, so it's difficult to get correct camera angles. Bear with me. So in order to remove this guy, we're going to take this razor knife, utility knife, and cut most of the way through. Cutting close to the wheel. So that we don't lose it inside the tire. We really don't want to do it that way. And we're going to grab it, and we're going to pull it loose. And we're going to pull this out. There we go. Nothing to it. We're going to take our tube, and we're going to keep in mind that this valve stem has to go back through the same hole we just removed that from. So we've got to get the tube started on the wheel. And I have a couple blocks of wood I sometimes put in there to help me out, but I don't think we're going to use them this time. We're just going to get this started over the wheel. And this is work, don't get me wrong, it's not magic. It's not impossible by any means. But we're going to get this started down over the wheel all the way around. And this is where your paintbrush handles come in handy. You can stuff the tube down in there with it. I've got the mower supported on jack stands, so it can't go anywhere. Safety, safety, safety. Bear in mind as you're doing this, not to pinch your tube, because there's nothing worse than airing this up when you're all done and it still leaks. Alright, we've got this thing started back behind this bead. We're just using these rounded paintbrush handles to stuff it. Stuff it back in there. It takes a little effort. A long way from impossible. Just keep moving around, gaining a little bit, gaining a little bit. Being firm but gentle. It takes a little upper body strength, but it's not terribly hard. It's more tedious than anything. We just keep working this around and around and around until we get it inside. Alright folks, I've worked the entire tube inside there. And this little guy right here, the little valve stem tool, is good at holding the valve stem into its hole. So whenever it's comfortable, if you have one of those, they sure are handy. So we've got everything in here, and it's ready to air up. I've got compressed air readily available. So I'm going to pull this out. Grab onto it with the pliers because I'll need to hold it till it's aired up. Just let it air up a little. The valve stem's a little crooked, we'll have to straighten that up. But we're going to let the air back out of it. And to do that, this handy dandy little tool has a cord remover. Sometimes it's on the cap of the valve stem, sometimes not. So it's good to have the tool. We'll take that out and let it relax completely. Do a little adjustment on it. Put it back in. Tighten the core back down. They make all kinds of core tools. Whatever you have or whatever works for you is fine. We're going to air it back up again. And this time we're going to let the beads seat. We may have to exceed the normal operating pressure, but they should pop. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And you can do, if you're having trouble, you can let the air out of it 3 or 4 times. See, that's why this tire was leaking. It's dry rotted. There it is, the bead seated. Didn't even pop that time. Give it just a hair more and see. Check the back side. It's in good shape. There you have it. Should last many years. We've got it overinflated. We'll set the inflation to 8 or 10 pounds, which is what's recommended, what works best. But it can be done. It took me maybe 8 minutes and some tedious tucking, but we got it to work. Thanks for checking us out. Come back soon.